Shir is being dedicated to Lui Nishmas, Maris Rachalea, Reb Chaim Tzvi. We take a look at the first Rashi in the book of Bereishit. Obviously, the way Rashi is going to begin his commentary is going to be fundamental in understanding what the Chumash is all about, what Sefer Bereishit is all about. We find a very famous Rashi, which I'd like to examine a little bit deeper, Mirz Hashem, today. Rashi says, Reb Yitzchak asked, the Torah needed only to begin with the verse, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, which is, this month for you is the chief of all months, from the first mitzvah that Klal Yisrael is commanded to observe. What then is the reason that the Torah begins with Bereishit? So Rashi begins with the famous question of Rabbi Yitzchak. The Medrash brings down of why did the Torah begin with the whole story of Bereishit, when if we understand the Torah to be a book of laws, the Torah to be an instructional manual on our behavior, would it not have made more sense that the Torah begins with the first mitzvah? You begin off with the Chodesh Hazeh Lachem. This is how you behave, and go from there. Why was it necessary to have the whole story of Ma'aseh Bereishit? So the Medrash answers, Koach Masav Higid Lamo Latelem Nachlat Goyim. The pasuk, he declared the power of his deeds to his nation to give them the inheritance of his people. If the nations of the world should say to Yisrael, listen, listim atem, that you are thieves, for you have occupied the lands of the seven nations, right? How dare you have Eretz Yisrael? The Jewish people can reply to them, the entire world belongs to Kadosh Baruch Hu. He created and gave it to me, please. When he desired, he gave it to them, the seven nations. And when he desired, he took it from them and gave it to us. So according to Rashi, this is the proof that the world belongs to Hashem, that Hashem created the world. And therefore, if Hashem created the world, then he has the right to give any part of the world to anyone he wants. And this is the right that the Jewish people of the land of Israel and the nations can say, Listim atem, you are thieves. Now, even before we begin to analyze quite a number of questions on Rashi, it's important to note that the question of Rabbi Yitzchak, of why does the Torah begin with the story of Bereishit and not with the Chodesh Hazeh Lachem, it's because there must be something here that we wouldn't have if it was just starting from a Chodesh Hazeh Lachem. And this is what the Ramban notes, however, as well. The Ramban in source 2 says that Hashem's ownership of the world would have been known even without the account of Ma'aseh Bereishit. You have, for example, the pasuk in the Aseret Dibro, Ki sheish yamim asah Hashem et hashamayim v'et haaretz. Right, in 6 days Hashem created the heavens and the earth. So obviously there must be something else going on here than just to tell us that Hashem owns the world. And as Rav Naiman points out in Darchei Musar, he says, really, Rabbi Yitzchak is asking, why is it necessary to begin from Ma'aseh Bereishit? Because he says in source 3, Kol mi sheyesh lo moch bekadko. Anyone who has any brains in his head, alav lakir mitoch habriyat tzma, will recognize through the creation itself, through every leaf, through every fruit, that there must have been a creator. So this is Rabbi Yitzchak's question. It can't just be telling us that God created the world. That's like obvious. You look around the world and of course you believe that there's a Borei Olam. From every corner we see the Galus HaBorei. And therefore the question of Rabbi Yitzchak is an excellent question. Why does the Torah begin with Ma'aseh Bereishit? It must be teaching us something else. It must be teaching us something deeper. There must be something here. And Rabbi Yitzchak uses the Medrash response to say this is the ownership of Eretz Yisrael. But the question has to be understood. The Ma'aseh Bereishit in its own right, as the Ramban continues to elucidate in source number 2, is something we don't even understand, even with the small amount that's found in the Chumash. It's obviously not about Hashem just creating the world. There's obviously something much deeper that's being found in this particular section that we have to understand. And that's what Rabbi Yitzchak is really asking. It's not so much of why doesn't it begin with the first mitzvah, as much as why is it necessary to have this introduction of Ma'aseh Bereishit. But when we look at Rashi, when we look at the response of Rabbi Yitzchak, there are quite a number of questions that arise. The Biyam Derech in 4a, 4b, and source number 5 raises some of them. For example, Ha'ima goyim shebaim larivi manu v'tonim klapeinu listimatem yatu ozen lishmot shuvatenu zot. So, if the whole reason we have Ma'aseh Bereishit is to show our ownership of Eretz Yisrael, so the first question is, are these nations going to listen to this answer? I mean, if the nations really believe, then they'd believe whether we had this or we didn't have this. I mean, this is going to be a response. Let me tell you, nations of the world, listen clearly. Hashem created the world and He gave it to us. Is this going to be a response to the nations of the world? And further, in 4b, V'tanatam lo shabanu b'derech koach v'zra b'milchama. And further, the nations' argument is, you forcibly took it, you took it in war. So if indeed you want to say that God gives it to whoever He wants to, so the nations can still argue, but you're thieves. You grabbed it away from us. You fought it. Like, why was that necessary? So we still have